Hey, good morning. How are you, Graham?
I'm doing well. Is that your fifth cup or your sixth?
I think it's number 17, to be honest with you. It's been an early morning, had a lot of work
Get
to
that
do.
look about you.
Well, welcome. We got we're going to have a lot of fun today. We did this about a year and a half ago. We just did a session where we got a bunch of product people to come on and just talk about how they got started on this career path and just it just blew up. People had a lot of fun with it. It's cool to hear different people's stories, and we're gonna start that in about a half an hour. But before and for our first half hour, we're gonna do our regular kind of welcome event where we just kind of get to know each other a little bit, talk about the things that are on our mind from a product management perspective, and then we'll shift into our origin stories in a minute. But I really want to. I've got a good friend, Manesh Patel, who is a member of our Product Coffee Premium group and is director of product over at Aviana Healthcare. And Manesh can't be here for the main program, and I really wanted to lead off and hear his story. So, Manesh, welcome. Good morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. My origin in product was essentially a situation where we were posed with government mandate to have our software certified in a certain manner so that our providers, our doctors that were using the software, um, could file for their quote unquote benefits or credits, or otherwise they'll get penalized for not having certified software. So lo and behold, I get thrown at the the perennial book of the government mandate and saying, hey, go look at the software, which is totally a new program for me, and here's the requirements. Go figure that out and get it done by the end of December. So that started my effort into product. Obviously I didn't know what product was. I was just doing what I needed to get done. And as I went along that process, my coworker introduced me and said, hey, basically what you're doing is something that happening on a regular basis with a group of people that are happening here in Alpharetta. You probably want to go. And turns out it was, Jason's product camp up northern part of Alpharetta that I ended up going for, and I spent a day there. Which then that's when it really opened my mind. I was like, this is actually something that is that is a career, so to speak, and going from there. And then I just started iterating in terms of just learning about doing it better and moving forward with the dev team and just building it out that way.
And so you've grown, and now you're leading a team of product people there at Aviana Healthcare, and that's pretty cool. We talk about a lot of times how product management is the accidental profession. A lot of us just fall into it, discover it. I think Stephen Haynes wrote about that in the opening chapter of the product manager's desk reference. I think he even calls it the accidental profession. And so you just kind of got thrust into it and really thrived. And now you're driving product strategy and building a team and leading a team at Aviana. So was Aviana Healthcare where you started in product management?
No, I actually started at a smaller company not too far away from where I'm at right now, right up on 285 and Northside Drive. And that was a smaller EMR company that I basically got hired on as there for working with the dev team and managing the support channel, so to speak. And that's where most of my stuff that I kind of learned by as the agile process says, fail often, right?
Right.
So did that fun stuff and moved on from there. But I think today's marketplace, I think we're getting a mix of people that are joining a product by accident like I did, and then joining product by intention and learning about it as well.
Absolutely. So if you were to give a piece of advice to someone who is starting in their product management career, what is one of the biggest pieces of advice that you would give?
So what got me through and made me stick to it was one, having a passion to learn and understand on both sides of the front, the technical part, the dev part, and also what the business actually transpires with, right? Um, you know, the software we were using at that time was a 15-year-old software that client server. I mean, even at the late 2000 teens or early 2000 teens, that was kind of like, that's super old stuff. So why are our doctors, even though the doctors are complaining about some of the features, why are they still using it? And if you can ask that question and have that mindset going forward and understanding the true benefit behind using this old technology that basically got the job done better than even the newer technology software out there. So understanding that, um, that magnitude of what's the difference between what really is needed by your customer base or your users of the software, is really key to continue building better and improved products.
Very cool. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're able to jump on and join us. I know you've got a big day there at the office, and
Yeah.
glad you can be here for a little bit with us. And we'll come back to more of the product management origin stories here at the top of the hour. I just wanted to make sure that we got yours before you ran out of time. So thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for jumping on and doing that, Manesh.
Yep.
Uh,
I'll be around for a few more minutes, and then as soon as they arrive, I'll head out.
Very cool. Very good. So yeah. So welcome everybody, and we got quite a few people on. Hey, Allison, Anthony, Ashley, Carter's here. Hadn't seen you in a minute, Carter. Welcome back. Casey's here. Eva, Graham, and Jeff and Melanie. So glad everybody's here, and I know we've got more people coming in a few minutes. And if you're out there watching us on YouTube, be sure and say hello as well. We've got quite a few people out there watching on the YouTube channel. Would love to hear from you. And so today, we're going to be talking about these product management origin stories, and and I'd love to hear from as many people on the call as we can fit in about how you got your start in product management. Where did you start out? And we'll lead off with that in a few minutes. In the meantime, what we do for the first half hour here at Product Coffee every week, if you haven't been a part of our opening half hour, is we just take a minute to get to know each other and introduce ourselves. And I would love to, if your camera is on, I'll come around and give you the opportunity to just introduce yourself and tell us who you are, who you're with, and what has your attention right now. That might be something you're celebrating. Maybe you just had a great release, or you've solved a problem that you've been struggling with for a while. Or it might be a product management challenge that you're trying to solve, and you'd love to put out to the hive mind and hear how people might suggest that you approach solving a problem or suggest a resource for you. And a lot of times we'll just agree to connect offline on a topic and help each other out. Product Coffee is really about creating a community of product management professionals who are helping each other grow to have more impact and success in this career and for their companies and for their markets. So I want to start off and Graham, I would love to welcome you. You joined us last week, I think, for the first time. Glad to have you back. Would love to get an introduction from you today.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So Graham Courtney, I work with a company called Simulan for eons, really. How I got into product management was a baptism of fire. Pretty much like Manesh, actually, old stack product, and needed to get it redeveloped, and that just basically put me on the spot. It was a little bit worse than that, because there was no funding and a company that was pretty much falling apart. So I've essentially been a stakeholder and a product manager at the same time, which has not been fun. So part of the reason why I joined this community, Jeff introduced me to it, actually, and my primary focus really is moving on to another thing. Actually, I may have found that other thing, and so what I'm kind of curious about, and what I'm sort of trying on for size right now, is a job that I might take, and it's mostly about dealing with we'll call them sales reps, but it's a little bit different to that. But essentially, sales reps that are afraid that a software application is going to replace them, and how, as a product manager, I'm going to warm them up to the idea that that the software application is actually going to be a benefit to them, and building that trust relationship. And this is over a four-state area. So it's kind of a product marketing activity, along with some customer feedback.
Yeah, that's a huge trend both in product management and product delivery and go to market, and it is having that. You're in good company. There have been a lot of people that have kind of faced this same struggle with an enterprise sales channel or a business sales channel that's also all of a sudden worried that this growth, product management and product led growth strategies are going to start taking away their opportunities. And you're dead on right. If executed well, it's going to enhance their opportunities. It's going to change the nature of how selling is done. Slack is a great example. Slack is one of the poster children of product-led growth, in that they put this product out there. You can start using it for free. You can get your team on it for free. And as value grows, well, they want to move you into an enterprise account, which is not cheap at all. And you can go in and sign up with a credit card and start a small organization on Slack with some premium features, and you don't need a salesperson for that. But they've done a masterful job of taking those entry points, taking those people with clear intent to buy, and building relationships with them and growing them to an enterprise footprint. And there are other stories like that. But there's a mindset shift. We had to deal with this at Silverpop and IBM when I was there as well, as we were trying to move into more of a product-led growth approach. The enterprise sales team was saying, now, wait a minute, what am I supposed to do if somebody can just go to the website and sign up with a credit card and start sending emails? Well, they're doing that with our competitors right now. They're going to MailChimp and signing up right now, and we're not getting that conversation. But with a good enterprise sales team, we can bring them into the fold and help them understand all the other opportunities that are available to them and all the other ways that we can help them and help them grow that footprint and grow that value. Anybody else had any experience in this space with helping teams grow into this kind of split approach of doing some product-led growth and but also maintaining the value and helping the enterprise sales team see and understand their value? Love to hear it, and you might connect with Graham offline as well. But that's a great one.
I can empathize with your sales reps. There's a pet project at Method called JeffBot that they're trying to build to replace me and put to work. So that's an ongoing. They say it's an ongoing joke. I'm hoping that's what it is.
There is no bot, Jeff. There is no bot that can use that credit card as fast and as hard as you do. So don't worry about that. You're good to go.
Oh, I think that they can. No, but so I mean, I come obviously from the biz dev side of the world, and it's an interesting conversation, but it's like so many other things get automated. It doesn't replace sales. It moves it farther up the ladder, which actually one of the biggest challenges, like other roles, is it removes some of the training ground, like where you learn to get good at something, those entry level things. It replaces a lot of those, but there's still paths, and we'll have salespeople for a little while longer.
So
yeah, we will.
Graham, I'm struggling, or I wouldn't call it struggling. In first quarter of 2023, I will be hopefully introducing and working through what you're experiencing, but not so much as in the sales channel, but more some users and the way we've been positioning it. So I would love to hear about what other people have done in the past about the same problem that Graham's talking about. It's a perception thing, but we're positioning it so that it enhances their jobs to be done and not so much as replacing their jobs to be done. It may sound like it, but I don't see that as that, but it's again, it's a delicate subject.
Yeah, to me, the interesting thing is that if you think about a salesperson, they're a hero in their story. And so I think the way I'm trying to look at it is, how are they a hero to their customer right now? And does the software impact that in a significant way, or can the software enable them to continue being a hero, but in a more proactive way? So that's kind of like how I'm shaping my thoughts around the conversations that I might have.
I love that. I love that. That was I love that perspective and that approach. I'm going to be really interested and excited to continue this discussion and hear how that evolves over time. That's exactly. And I wish I had thought of that advice to give a lot of people, because I think that is a real key point there. Thank you, Graham. The salesperson is already the hero. What's that?
Clear, Jason, they have to give you the job yet.
Well, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. All right, so let's move on and let's say hello. Who else has their camera on? Let's drop over to Eva Beasley. Eva, welcome back.
Hello, I know it's been a little bit. I hope everybody's doing well, but my name is Eva. I work for a company called UiPath, which deals with robotic process automation. And I think something that I really would love to get better at is just collaboration in general. I feel like so many people have so many different ways they like to communicate. Some like huddles, some like emails, some like phone calls. And I know as product managers, our management team will come to us any day of the week, any hour of the day, and say, what's the status on your features? And sometimes I get this sinking feeling like, hold on. And you're trying to, I guess, piggyback on the engineering team or the QA team or which team is involved to try to get that up-to-date status. But obviously dealing with a global company, it's not always real time. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way. I know at former companies, we used something called Status Hero, where the engineers could put in their status and it would literally just put in a new post on the Slack channels. Other companies, we've done different things, but would love to hear everybody's take on how they ensure they have up-to-date status in real time of their features.
So love to let anybody jump in. I can tell you there are so many layers to that conversation in question for me. But to answer kind of your immediate question is, what have we used to report status, and how do we generally report status? I think I used a couple of products over the course of my career where there was a level of executive dashboarding that really made it very easy. Version 1 was a product that we used to use when I was at Silverpop that made it really easy for you to track the status of the epics that were contributing to a release and see the progress towards the release and understand where risks might exist. AHA does a really good job of that as well from a software perspective. But the simplest thing, if I go personally to the simplest thing that might possibly work, is I really like maintaining a risks chart and focus on our status. Is we have specific objectives that a release is intended to achieve. And here are those objectives. And here's our status against those objectives, not about the features, but about the objectives that we're aiming toward. What are the things, what are the outcomes that we want to achieve? It might be tied directly to a feature, but if we're talking in terms of objectives, then we can talk about red, yellow, green, and from a status perspective, where does the risk exist from a status perspective? in a little bit more meaningful business way, and we can shift it off of a feature update and more into a product success update and a product risks update, and where do we need help to ensure that we have a release or have a deployment that's going to meet our objectives. That's personal. I see, Holly, you've got your hand up as well.
Yeah, I think Soumya beat me. So Soumya, if you want to go first, feel free. But I was going to jump in on what you were just saying.
Okay, I'm not going to go on camera. I apologize for that. I am not camera ready. So no, you don't want to see me today. No, like if it is not presentable, that's fine. When you have an allergic reaction in your eye, you better be not on camera. So, okay. So having said that, status updates, yes, a nightmare situation for all product managers. I deal with it a couple different ways based on who's asking for it and what are the actual expectation on the status update, right? Your internal stakeholders ask for a status update on when is it going to be released, not as such what is happening with it. But sometimes the status update is asked by a micromanager of yours, want to know exactly where you are at, how long, why it is getting delayed. I deal with it completely differently with them. So based on all these things, AHA helps give a status update on a higher level, right, to your upper management and to your stakeholders saying, okay, we are in development. We can stop right there, right? And then we can say this is an expected period of beta release or a GA release. We can stop right there. So that would yellow, red, green would work for that situation. When there are some, let's say, immediate micromanagers who wants to know exactly what is happening, yada, yada, yada. Usually I turn to the DevOps, what the development team is using for a Scrum basis. It could be a Rally, it could be a TFS, or it could be a Jira. So I always tell product managers who are entering the org, AHA is good for you, but you also need to have access to this DevOps that the developer is using, and also showing up to their Scrum as a surprise, once in a while helps. Even though my product owner goes to Scrum, I make it a point to go to Scrum early in the morning or whenever it is as a surprise basis, because I can't be there every day. Okay, that is not practical. I don't want to be the micromanager to my product owner. She will do the job of attending that Scrum, and she will keep me updated when there is an issue arises. I don't want to know if everything is going right? I know it's going right. So, but I do go as a surprise because I know, like, I have to say something every Friday, right? We have a day that I have to report up to on exactly what is happening. Is there going to be a delay on this? So I will show up on a Wednesday or a Thursday just to know what's going on. So then I can exactly give the pinpointed answer that the management is looking for. But that happens in only certain organization, not every organization. They are all expecting you to tell them when exactly it is going into QA, what are the issues. There are some people who definitely ask for you. So I would say have yourself an access. The downside here is having access to DevOps. It only shows when people actually move it from lane to lane. There are teams where developers don't move it at all. They are like, it is in progress and it stays in progress forever. So I usually, when I show up, I usually ask them, is the Jira updated today? If not, I would like you to update it by end of the Scrum. When you're talking, move it. It doesn't take like million seconds to move it. Just move it, So when I'm in Scrum, they know I want to see the latest one. And if they don't, at the end of the Scrum, I make them stay for extra 5 minutes and make them move right then and there so that I can send a screenshot. So it all depends on which level, right? AHA to the management level, you just don't have to give more details. If they want more details, I would go to the DevOps. That's where I stay with it. So.
Yes, I love so many things you were hinting at there, saying there, Soumya. I also enjoy the drop-in. That's a lot of fun, right? Both on the Scrum call with the dev team, also just any team call, empower your product team, whether they're product managers or product owners, regardless. But it's nothing more fun, I think, sometimes than backing them up, right? I think George is on, and how many times did I surprise join a call, right? No one knew I was there. And it's so fun when they hear your name dropped, they're like, well, Holly said, or Holly wants. And I'm like, yes, I do. I'm here. And then everyone's like, oh, goodness, right? So that can be an impactful tool, and use that across the team, right? It's not a scary thing for your team. It should be an empowerment and a tool that you use to jointly kind of conquer the castle. But I want to go back to what Jason was saying, because I really feel like we're talking at a very detailed level, and you have to check your own leadership sometimes, right? Are they asking the right questions? They're going to ask questions because really the answer is they don't know what they need to be asking. They know that you know what's important, and they're concerned about the bigger business goals, right? And they know that they need to be able to report on those. So they're asking sometimes a plethora of stuff that's down in the minutia level they should never care about, right? And I think sometimes as product, it's our job. And I think, Jason, this is where you were, right? To kind of roll that up. Don't expose maybe AHA or Jira or version 1. Those are great tools. But I would say, even for me, I really ever went into any of them, regardless of which company I've worked at and what tool we were using, because even that tends to be at a detailed level, right? It's the feature. And I care more about the business outcome, which is probably epic or higher, right? It might be a couple of epics even added together to get a business outcome. And so I think what you want to create is something that's easily, updatable to that point, like whether it's a PowerPoint slide, a chart, a graph, an Excel spreadsheet, but something that you can use as, hi, Kat, uses your tool to reflect that to your leadership, right, and maintain that. And so you have that at the ready. Eva, I think this was your question, right? But your update based on updates from your team, based on what, like Soumya was saying, going to the Scrum call, asking people to move the Jira, but then use that as a tool for your leadership. Because if you let them get in the minutia, they're going to kill themselves with it, right? They're going to hang themselves with that news. And I think, we want to remind them of, well, is that, and I've even said to the people before, is that really what you care about? And sometimes, you'd be surprised at the reaction. It's not seen as a negative challenge. It's well, yeah, but why? They're going to ask, why are you asking? And that gives you the chance to pivot to but here's what's important. Here's why we're doing the things we're doing, right? We're chasing this amount of growth, this amount of revenue. We're trying to add this amount of customers or get this, adoption in this time period. If you draw them back to what are the actual goals and show them that you're tracking to that, not only is that compelling for you just answered exactly what they need and gave them something really powerful to go say in their next executive meeting, but it really impresses them with you. And with that, I will focus on this thing that's growling at me.
That's great. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Soumya.
Part of the meeting.
Yeah, right. Come on, we welcome everyone, even if you're just new to product management. So,
right, this is DEI right here, guys. Diversity and inclusion.
Faith, I see you've got your hand up. I'll let you have the last word on this.
I'll try to be quick. I think the one thing I could build on both of all these speakers. The one thing I will say though is I have found that when people are really asking for status, when I've asked like what's driving this concern, it's often something much more tangible than are we going to reach whatever our outcomes or whatever. A lot of times in my experience, it's been very practical. We want to know when we have to have training ready. We want to know when we should have the press release ready. We want to know when we have to have our drip campaign to our customers ready. So they're trying to also put together a part marketing plan, and that side of the business is a lot more like still what we in software might call like waterfall driven, but like they're working to sort of a fixed timeline. So in their mind, if I tell them that we're going to release into production on January 10th, they're going to drive all of their planning to January 10th. So one thing we've been trying to do is kind of train them, first of all, to change their messaging to customers. Like you can uncouple your marketing from our release date. If you're willing to say things, send out email to customers that say something like, coming soon, Q1, look for information about how to sign up, instead of their habit had been, hey, we have this new feature. Do you want to subscribe? Let me make an appointment to show it to you. So we've been trying to have to coach them into some ways that they can communicate, still market, still drum up interest without it being so much tied to our release date. There's probably more I could go into on that, but the main thing is trying to understand what they're trying to accomplish and help them uncouple their activities from a specific release date so that those revenue producing activities can float, because ultimately they're just trying to realize revenue as early as possible after the release. That's all.
Yes. Thank you, Faith. That's absolutely true and a great reminder. We get an awful lot of ongoing conversation in helping to manage communication flow and set expectations throughout the business. Stakeholder management's a huge topic that we've talked about in all of those different organizations that are just thriving on the information that we can share with them to help them understand what's coming, where we are, because ultimately everybody in the business is trying to do their part to solve customer problems and to grow the business. And there's often a perception that our success is dependent on a release or a feature, and really changing the conversation to getting to that overall success and less about the date, thinking about the definition of success has huge value in managing your relationships throughout the organization. And but there's still, in order to shift that conversation, Eva, you still have to answer the immediate question in a meaningful way and then redirect it. Because if you're not creating that satisfaction of a meaningful answer to the question asked, it is so hard to get the mind share that you need in order to change the perspective of your stakeholders around the business as well. So I think the tools for answering the question immediately, but then the conversation about how we should really look at the question that you're asking. Are we talking about a feature? Are we talking about an outcome? Are we talking about a customer that needs help? What's the right way to help in any given situation is critical. I want to welcome a few people. We've got out on YouTube. I see we've got Mark and we've got Maggie and Stan out watching on YouTube. Thanks for joining us there. I also want to welcome Corey and Lena, who are joining us for the first time today. Welcome to Product Coffee. Hope you have a great time here today. We're going to shift gears now, and I want to start off by welcoming and thanking our sponsors. We've got a few great sponsors that make this program possible every week, and the first is Method. And we've got Jeff Meddy here from Method. If you'd like to say a quick word, and thanks for supporting Product Coffee, Jeff.
Sure. So with Method, as Jason said, and I've been remiss. So I see some familiar faces, but also see bunches of new faces. And so I work with Jason here out of the Atlanta office, and Method is a product and innovation consultancy. So we get the great privilege to work with a diverse group of organizations, mostly larger enterprises, to kind of launch new products, open innovation labs, and good fun stuff like that. And we tend to host a few happy hours and pay for some beer now and then, as somebody already referenced my credit card earlier in the call.
Yep, absolutely. And speaking of happy hours, we've got one coming up on November 17th. It's going to be up in the Alpharetta area. So if you are in the Atlanta, Georgia area, we're a global community, but we do try to host local meetups whenever possible. We have one up in Chicago recently. We've got an Alpharetta, Georgia meetup happening on November 17th up at Village Tavern, right, Holly? Yeah, she's nodding her head. Okay, great. Yeah. So we'll hope to see a lot of you come out. You can go over to productcoffee.com/tickets and put in your reservation for that so that we know how many to prepare the venue for. Let them know how many people are coming. I also want to thank Product Management University, led by John Mansour, who will be our guest next week as well, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So John launched Product Management University. He's been training product managers for longer than I've been in product management, and he launched Product Management University, which has a bunch of digital degree programs for product managers. They've got the School of Product Management, the School of Product Marketing, and the School of Product Demos, which is a really unique offering coming out of Product Management University. Productmanagementuniversity.com. Thank you for your support. And featureupvote.com provides a great voice of the customer tool that you can deploy for your own products. We use it here at Product Coffee at productcoffee.com/ideas, where you can make suggestions for the types of sessions you'd like us to host here at Product Coffee and vote on other people's suggestions, have some conversation to help us understand what would help you the most as we're putting together these weekly programs. So thank you to featureupvote.com for all of your support as well. Now, next week, as I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to be welcoming John Mansour with a session on customer success and how product managers really need to be leaning into making the customer success team their new BFFs. And there's a lot of value there in those relationships, because customer success teams are truly closest to the customer on a day-to-day basis. We talk about nothing important happens in the office and getting out and talking to your customers. But even if you have time as a product manager, if you have time to run 2 or 3 customer interviews a day, which you don't, or if you're even following Teresa Torres's advice and having a customer discovery interview once a week, you're doing great, but your customer success team is doing it at scale. And John's going to talk about some ways to really get in tight with your customer success team and build strong relationships and extract the most value from that relationship that will impact your products and your roadmap in a really positive way. So join us next week. The registration will be live for that later today. And if you're on our mailing list, we'll get that out. And if you follow us on LinkedIn, we'll get that out on LinkedIn as well later in the week. So if you're not already on our mailing list, go over to productcoffee.com and sign up for that newsletter so that you are the first to receive those alerts. And you'll get the link later on today. Today, we're going back to origin stories. And back when we started Product Coffee back in 2020, we did a session like this where we just got a bunch of product people to come on and talk about how they got started in product management. And I just wanted to hear some stories today. This is it's been called the accidental profession. So many professional product people fell into this career path. Most happily, most of you who are here have happily fallen into this career path. And it's a really rewarding and exciting space to be in. And everybody's path here is a little bit different. And it's just really fun to hear how people got there. And I'll share my story to start. So I'm Jason Brett, and we started Product Coffee a couple of years ago to get to build a community of product professionals like this. And I'm glad you could join us today. But if you're interested in finding out more, you can go over to productcoffee.com/now, and you'll see a little description of today's session, as well as some links to some other resources that you can use, especially a notes document. If you hear something particularly inspiring today or have a question or a thought, I'd love you to join us in our Google Docs, in our Google Doc, where we take notes together, capture who was on the call, who talked about their origin story and what they've heard and learned along the way. Join us in that, help build a collaborative record of what we talked about here today and some of the great resources that you'll hear about. I'm going to ask a lot of folks on the call today to tell us your origin story. And if your camera's on, I'll ask you to tell us your story, assuming I can get to you. If your camera's not on and you still want to tell your story, that's fine. Just raise your hand, and we'd love to hear your story too. Just use the reactions panel to raise your hand below. We'd love to hear how you got into product management. And we'd also love to hear a piece of advice that you might have for someone who is entering product management as a career, or even if they've been in it for a couple of years and you've got some experience. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to product managers for accelerating and being more successful in their career? So I'm going to start now with my story. And I got into product management definitely by accident. I started back in the late 90s at the very beginning of the interwebs. I didn't invent it, but I did start a little web design shop. And I started out, as a lot of web designers at the time did, with really cheap rates. I did a lot of free work. I did a lot of really cheap web design work and web development work. But I found out I was pretty good at it and was having a lot of fun with it. So I kept doing it, and I kept growing my customer base. And pretty soon, I was unable to, I had more business than I could handle, and I could no longer serve my original customers who helped me be successful at the same rates that I used to serve them. I had gone from charging $25 an hour to hundreds of dollars an hour for my services, but I wanted to serve those original customers. I really am a strong believer in you dance with the one that brung you. They helped me be successful. I wanted to help them continue to be successful. So I started creating some tools to help manage the workflow of what I was doing to serve my clients, to manage my clients' websites. And this was before the days of small business accessible content management systems. So I started creating these tools just to simplify the management of websites. And I was showing those tools to one of my clients one day. And he's like, wow, Jason, you know what? If I had access to those tools, I could use that and I can manage a lot of the stuff that I have to keep coming and getting on your schedule to do. And I would pay you for access to those tools. So I thought, that's kind of interesting. So I checked around with a few other clients and showed it to a few other clients, and they kind of gave me similar feedback. So I put together a couple of tools to help them manage their own websites. They loved it. And so I started experimenting with changing my hosting model and basically created a very early SaaS content management system. We called them application service providers back then. But anyway, I built up, about 100 clients on this little platform. Now, about the same time I had this brilliant idea, so did about 3 billion other entrepreneurs. And so by the time I got it packaged, by the time I got it packaged up, the market was flooded. It was a very red ocean already. So the business itself was never a huge success, but I learned a lot. And when I sold that business, I got an opportunity with a friend of mine to go to work at Bell South as a product consultant on the product management team. And they were really interested in my web hosting experience as they were launching a web hosting product. So I took a job as essentially a product manager without any training on contract with Bell South. Stayed there for 3 years through the AT&T merger. Ended up being the product manager for a lot of different products, including Wi-Fi hotspots and a secure email product that we had, and fell in love with the idea of product management. I realized all the customer discovery work and problem definition work I was doing as a product manager was what really excited me the most, way more than the writing the software and creating the tools. So this became something I was really passionate about. And so as my contract with AT&T came to an end, I was starting to look for my next role, and I knew I wanted to be in product management, but I didn't still really know how to be a professional product manager. I'd been learning some things along the way, and I had heard about these product camps that were springing up around the country, and I really wanted to go to one, but Austin was the biggest product camp, had just happened, and I'd missed it. So there was going to be another year before there was another one. And I was talking to a friend of mine and said, well, hey, Jason, why don't you just host a product camp in Atlanta? That'd be a great way for you to meet other product people and learn from them. And I said, well, that's great, except I've never been to a product camp. I'm not really sure what to do. And he said, well, neither had the guys that started product camp a year and a half ago. They'd never been to one either. And so that's a good point. And so I said, I'll think about it. But before I had time to think about it, Stuart had tweeted out, and Twitter was a big deal at the time. It was where all the product people were hanging out. Stuart had tweeted out that I was going to be hosting Product Camp Atlanta and that I needed help. And help started pouring in. So 6 weeks later, we held the first Product Camp Atlanta. And a few weeks after that, I had met some folks from a company that was interested in coming to Product Camp called Silverpop, which is an email service provider. And I met the vice president of product over there, who many of you know. Jeff Dernovich is now the VP of product at LeaseQuery, which is one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And Jeff reached out to me and said, hey, we've got an unannounced role here on my team, and I think you'd be a really great fit for this. We'd love to have you. And I joined Silverpop as my first true product management job. We were acquired by IBM. My career grew through IBM, and then we carved out to Acoustic, where I became vice president of product as we separated from IBM with a global team of 20 product managers. It's just been a fabulous ride where I love being able to engage with customers, learn about why they do the things that they do, the challenges that they have, and try to help facilitate the creation of software and technology that will help them solve those problems. So I think the number one piece of advice that's how I got started in product management. And I think the number one piece of advice that I give to product managers on an ongoing basis is, as I've learned over the years, I even saw a little debate about this on a channel just yesterday, is focus more on the outcomes. The more you can align what you're doing from a product perspective to your business's strategy and objectives and the goals that you want to achieve as a business and your customers' goals. Both of those things, if you can focus your energy on understanding the goals and the outcomes that they're trying to achieve and align your language in every update that you give, in every requirement that you write, to really focus on the outcomes you're trying to achieve, it will help keep your entire team and organization grounded on the reason that you're really there. And it gives you a lot of influence and impact in product strategy. It'll help grow your career when you're focused on what the C-suite is focused on and what your leadership is focused on and what your customers are really focused on, and can change it out of that feature-driven conversation. So that's my advice. I want to, at this point, I would like to really start hearing from a lot of from folks who are on the line here and have been in product management for some time. I'd love to hear how you got into this career path. If your camera's on, I'll call on you. And if your camera's not on, you can raise your hand if you don't want to come on camera. I'd really encourage you to do so if you can. But I want to start with Casey Kermes. Casey, I would love to hear your story.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Casey. I've been a product manager now for about 2.5 or 3 years, probably. So I got into it. I went back to grad school to get a master's in business and took a class in entrepreneurship where we got 2 undergraduate computer science students, and we're basically told you got 12 weeks and then you have to pitch the head of the business department and the head of the engineering department with whatever you do. And so we, came up with a pretty raw product. What we did was, it was during COVID, so beginning of COVID. So we kind of came up with a new menu system for QR codes, and it's pretty raw, very buggy. Only had 12 weeks and 2 engineers that were still sophomores in college. So, but it was fun, loved it. Got out of college and worked for a company that was making a kind of a community building social networking app for offline, not online, but like getting people to actually meet each other in person. Did that for about a year and then got poached to About Golf, which is where I work now. I'm the entire product team. I do everything for product here. We make golf simulators and do enterprise software, and we have a mobile app. So kind of run the gamut from hardware to software. And yeah, we need more people.
Cool.
I think everyone does though.
Oh, yeah. It is definitely an employee's market, a product manager's market right now. There are more opportunities out there than there is talent to fill. And I think that's one of the reasons there's a big spotlight on our career space right now, is people need folks that can really walk that line between connecting the business and the customer and the technology to get to great outcomes. So you're absolutely right. Welcome. I do want to ask you, Casey, what is, if you were giving a piece of advice to someone who's starting out as a product manager, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, try to get inside the mind of whoever you're talking to, just figure out why, where are they coming from? When the engineers come at you with one set of questions, why are they coming at you with that, and respond that way. But then, it's a completely different conversation if you go talk to marketing, or if you talk to sales, or if you talk to the C-suite. Try to understand that other side of the conversation before you open your mouth, and the conversation generally goes better. So yeah, try to understand that other side pretty well.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your story, Casey. Arshit, welcome. Let's hear your story.
Yeah, sure, Jason. Thanks so much. My story is that first and foremost, a very hearty good morning to you all, guys. Okay, so the thing is, I got into the product management. I am a computer science graduate from a college that is the finest college in the central India. Okay, and as well as in the Central Asia. So I got an honors degree from there. So the thing is, how I came to in the product management. Before being in a product management, I worked as an UI developer in a software company that is serving to the Citibank. So I'm working for a Citibank account. Okay. So, but something, it is does not give me so much pleasure to work there. So I started my own products, that is Cover, that is the India's first fact-checking aggregation platform. So where I work with my co-founder Rahul. So he's from IIT Gandhinagar. So we started, and after about 6 months, so we reached into the Y Combinator for funding, because we have a so very our growth of 7%, and we have a about 7 to 14 interns that are working under me. So the thing is, everything seems at a very good pace. But the thing is, here we are started just for a fun, because we are not happy with our current job. So it's like a side products or side projects. It seem like that. So the thing is, when we got into Y Combinator, you guys from US, so you heard about the Y Combinator. What is so many people know about Y Combinator. It's a venture capitalist fund, and they are providing very good market rate at 9%. They are providing 90 lakhs. It's about 5,000 dollars in US maybe. So we reached, and we happily selected for our first round. Then there's a judge are coming like Eric and some others. So they are asking, did you guys do the market research for that idea? So at that point of time, I am become a blank. What he asked. So the thing is here. So then I learned, sir, because it's all about we are actually we are founders. As a founder, we to tackle each and everything. Jason, I think you understand this point. We are prepared for everything, because if plan A is not working, so we have a plan B every time. So there's give me a minute, okay. So the thing is here, then so I prepare a fake speech at that point of time, but these guys are so much intelligent rather than us and smarter. Then they told, okay, Archit and Rao, you can go ahead and first do market research, then come back to us. Then we did the heavily market research, talk with users, then we can find out the ideas not of worth it. Okay, even we generate about 1 lakh rupees, that is equivalent to 1,000 US dollars within a 3 months, but still that is not worth it. Then we forget about that idea and work on Sponsorable. So Sponsorable is a platform where we can connect the sponsors with an event organizers. So here we work with an prestigious college of whole over India, even IIT Bombay, IIT Roorkee. Everyone is our client. Everyone is using our platform to connect with the sponsors. The brands, okay, they are providing the in-kind deals that is so much worth it. Even the Singapore flight tickets are also there, and there are numerous sponsors are there. Okay, so one day I just because as I'm coming from a family that is not supported for my business, so I talked with one of my elder brother who is in Google right now, Google India. So he asked me, why not you can switch to the Google. I say, bro, I have not so much knowledge and I have no so much passionate to become a UI developer. So he told me, why not you can try for a product management that is so much equivalent to what you are doing and what you love to do. So I just prepare it and given interviews, and because Sponsorable is going at a very good pace, not at a very high pace, but it is in like right now in an autopilot mode. So we have to know no worry about how it is going and how it is not going. Even the money is coming and not coming, we have self-sufficient. Do it because whole. So then I give the interviews, and luckily I selected for 5 to 6 companies. I got an offer. So some of the companies are like from like one of them is a fintech products. So I got into that, and right now I'm working as a product manager there. So this is my whole story from startups to there. Thanks,
I
Jason,
love
for
it.
this
So,
opportunity.
and it started with that computer science focus and moved into
Yeah,
you grew into an entrepreneurial space, which is where so many
yeah,
successful product managers have a huge entrepreneurial mindset, and then
yes,
move and then wanted to take the next step. And so you moved into an organization, a company where you could be a product manager and learn that skill set further with bigger problems. So that's really
yeah.
exciting. Love
Yeah,
hearing
thanks,
that.
Jason.
So if you
Jason,
were to
I
give
have a
it,
one question from you.
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
sorry, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please, you
I
are
definitely want
saying
to hear
something.
what advice you would give to someone who was thinking of starting out in product management.
So my brother, he's Vivek Jain. So he gave me advice for doing this, all of the things. So he's right now working as an SD in the Google India. So
Mm-hmm.
he actually he's like my best buddy as well as my best friend as well as like so we are sharing everything, and he's also excited to join my business, but due to our Indians, there are middle class families out there, so they are not only focused on the things that are giving up pleasures, and they are more mediocre type of things. So but what I love to do right now is I'm so much passionate to do that work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we do this. So you had a question for
Yeah.
me. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jason. So how you go ahead with a SaaS as you give in your whole the journey, and how you decide to go ahead with the SaaS businesses, because SaaS is not an easy thing, and go into the SaaS, it needs so much passionate as well as so much knowledge, because
So
SaaS businesses are not yeah.
yeah. So make sure I understand your question. How did I decide to pursue product management in SaaS products specifically?
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So luck, really. It's really most of the product management that I've known. When I started the company that became Site Tamer, which was the company that I started years and years ago, we weren't calling it SaaS. We were calling them application service providers. But the value there was we were creating cloud-based software that people would
okay,
use through a web browser. And so it was just that was the you've heard the expression when what you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Well, the first hammer that I picked up was basically SaaS. So that's the
okay,
product management space that I personally learned. And it's just what has felt like home. Now, with Method, where I work full time now, I've worked on some things that are SaaS products. I've worked on some things that are on premise products. I've worked on some IoT products. So that's not where my exclusive experience is anymore. I just kind of luckily
yes,
fell into SaaS products early in my career, so it became my foundation.
okay. Sounds great. Really
Yeah.
interesting, Jason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, welcome. Glad you could be here. I want
yeah.
to shift over, and Allison, I would love to hear your story now.
Good morning, Jason. Thank you.
Over to you, Alice.
Hang on just one moment here.
Hi.
Hang on just a second before you start here. Let's make sure that we mute everybody else. All right, there we go. Go ahead, Allison.
Sure. So I think we were talking about this at Product Camp. I think Jackie may have brought it up, but I bet you there's not yet a real pattern as to how folks fall into product management or find themselves in product management. And I'm always amazed at the people I meet and talk to as to how they got started and how they got here. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. I began elsewhere. I think maybe I have always known that I was destined to do something different, but I didn't know exactly what it was. So I hold a degree in graphic design and web design. You can see the color behind me. I'm creative by nature, but couldn't do that as a living. And I sat in account management and client relationship management for a decade and did that really well, but found it wasn't really scratching the itch for everything that I wanted to do. And my curiosity was barking at the door to be let out and to explore a bit further. So I left my full-time employment in 2017 and began a full-grown, what do I want to be when I grow up journey, which led me through work in the public sector, in more of a project management and project-based implementation. And I found my way into content, and spent the better part of the pandemic working in content management systems, both as a product owner, a digital strategist, and supporting teams there. And that got me really excited because I enjoyed being able to see the impact that, right, influencing through product decisions, we can help build better solutions, communicate better with our customers, and really meet the need that's actually being asked for rather than what a business thinks is needed, which is often sometimes different. And it's helped bringing those two together rather than pushing them further apart. So I sit today as a product manager at Synapse Studios in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in Virginia, so I'm perpetually confused as to where I am or what time of day it is. But the team I work with is in a consultant model and base. And so I've gotten to work in product discovery. And our team is really collaborative around making sure we have, thoughts checked, idea generation is done in collaborative sessions, both with our clients and internally. And I'm really enjoying getting to dig into being allowed to be curious for a job is really awesome. I just think I get in trouble at home because I ask too many questions, but being curious as a product manager is something that is really valuable and has served me well thus far. One thing I would tell folks that are new to the space or interested in coming into the space, and if you're coming from elsewhere, you've done something else, that was a thing that I had a hard time figuring out at first, but what things drive you, excite you, get you out of the bed, running to the door or running to your desk every day. And sometimes it's something like a spreadsheet. Sometimes it's talking to people. Sometimes it's really making a neat, organized pattern out of a spaghetti plate. And so figuring out what those are and finding how you can serve that either at your company or a future company. And I think that has served me well. And I've found that to be very helpful in figuring out where I land in the product space. So thank you for asking, Jason.
Oh, awesome. And thank you so much for sharing yours, Allison. I really appreciate it. It's been so much fun getting to know you over the last year or so in Product Coffee. So glad you're here with us.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Who's going to come next? I got a lot of names here. I would love to. So we heard from Eva this morning with her question, but let's switch back over to Eva Beasley. Eva, would you tell us your story?
Yeah, sure. And it took me 29 months to get into product. So anyone listening, be resilient. There is no correct way to get into this field. I recently did a podcast with someone named John, and he basically and I kind of went through this. But at the end of the day, no one can tell you the correct or the incorrect way to get in. So just stay true to your unique self because we need creative individuals in this space. But shifting, I spent the past 15 years as a support engineer, either tech support or app support, or you name it, it was support. I was telling people to reboot, when in doubt, reboot all day, every day. No, I'm kidding. I was a lot better than that. But in 2019, my manager had said, you would be a really good product manager. And I didn't really, it was like January 2019. And I was like, what is that? Like, I didn't really know what the role was, but I think he thought that I would have forgotten about it. And me being very persistent and strong-willed and outspoken and Philadelphian, because I am originally from Philadelphia, I kind of kept asking, well, what do I need to do to get into that space? And I wouldn't let it go. Like when someone says you will be a good X, well, tell me the why to get there. And no one ever told me that. So I just started applying to internal positions and they just didn't work out. They kept saying, no, you need to stay in support. No, this is an exclusive area of the business. I mean, I heard everything. And I gave it a year and I still couldn't pivot. And that's when I just decided, well, I'm going to look outside my company for any role but support. And that's how I landed my technical account management role, because I thought it would be good to get the support and the sales and the account management to lead me into this role. And I was wrong. So yeah, but anyway, from there, I finally left that company and then got into product. So it was a lot of anxiety, a lot of frustrations of just being told that I wasn't good enough, just to be honest and transparent. And now I'm currently working on my master's degree in IT, since I've always been technical. I'll be done in June. Again, don't let people tell you that you shouldn't get a master's, you should get an MBA. I mean, I've heard everything. I just feel like you do you at the end of the day. And my only advice would be, figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are and what you want to do, because companies don't know the difference sometimes between product manager, product owner, program manager, or project manager. So look at those roles, look at the descriptions. If a product manager role requires a PMP certification, you know it's probably not a product manager role. That's all I'll say there.
Oh, absolutely true. Great advice and great story. I had a young lady in Silver that worked with me in Silver Pop and IBM years and years ago, and she was similar. She was an account manager, and what account managers did, they were customer success is what they were, and she spent a lot of time in the product helping customers, specifically pushing buttons and executing campaigns for customers as well. And I would every once in a while I'd do roadmap road shows with all of our different offices, and she was routinely on the hook for or reaching out and saying, "Hey, why can't you just get this thing on the roadmap? Why can't you just do this? This is help me understand why we're not delivering this feature over that feature so I can solve this problem." And I solved that problem for her. I made her a product manager on my team, and she quit asking those questions because that's how she learned. So I think it depends on the organization that you're in. I'm sorry it took you so long to get there, but you had the right eyes for it, and I'm glad you got there. Because those customer-facing roles, those customer success roles, are a great onboarding route into product management, because you have that deep customer understanding and empathy in a way that is really powerful. So thanks for sharing that, Eva.
This is Soumya. I want to add one comment to Eva. Mm-hmm. Whoever said, right, like, no, you are not eligible for this, probably they don't know what they are looking for. Because there is no formal degree for product management, right? Yeah, nowadays, yes, there are like millions, zillion certifications. When I came into product management, there was none. I did not even know what product management was. I just fell in it. So I'm not going to go by my boring story. But what I'm saying is, like, they probably did not know what they are looking for. It's not on you, right? It's that you're not eligible. They don't know whether they can train you or not, or whether what they wanted, So I don't know. I was very shocked when you said that they told you that you are not eligible. I don't know. I would always reach out to my support engineers and people who are talking to customers more than try to get them into product management when there is a position open than anybody else, because that's who are facing the customers. I learn a lot from them.
Yeah, absolutely true. And I know you said we're not going to hear your boring story, Soumya. I know your story isn't boring, and one of these days when you are not fighting an allergic reaction, we're going to get you on and we're going to hear your story anyway, because I want to hear it.
Yeah.
But we'll let you take today off. So I'm going to let's switch over. Sue, you've got your hand up. Let's jump over to here. I'd love to hear your story. Bring it on.
Well, I just wanted first to add to what Eva and Soumya said, is that at least years ago, people didn't know what it was. So I'm really old. I'm semi-retired. I'm on Medicare, so that's how old I am. But anyway, back when I was doing this, nobody really knew what it was, and so trying to figure out my next step. When I started at Eastman Kodak Company. This still exists, by the way. It is a real company. It's not, this stock is way less than it was way back, but I still know people who work there, and they're not in debt anymore. But anyway, I started with my 2-year chemistry degree, testing the chemicals that came out of the reactors that were coated in film and paper. Moved on to some quality control stuff, moved on to supply chain and purchasing, those kinds of things, and health and safety. But then what's my next step? What do I want to do? They have you take these tests, like what are your strengths and what are your interests and what would you be good at? You only know what you know. So I'm answering those questions based on what I've done, right? Not what there might be. So I was being, guided back to the kinds of stuff that I had done, quality and purchasing and whatever. But I ended up in the digital organization and doing testing still, or no, health and safety stuff still. And the manager said, we need more product managers or product development managers, what kind of combination project manager and product managers sort of combined in one. We think you'd be really good at that. So I'm like, okay, and scared to death. Let me tell you, about 2 weeks into it, I walked into my manager's office practically in tears saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. How does it happen? But then it clicked and I never turned back. I mean, this is what I was meant to do. I left Kodak in 2006, moved to North Carolina in 2007, and took a job in health and safety. Hadn't done health and safety for 8 years or so, but certainly thought I was capable. The most boring, pedantic thing since I had moved on, right? It's a wonderful profession. People need to do it. It's critical. But once you've experienced and your passion and your personality is in product, going back to that was not, I lasted 13 months and said, I can't do this anymore, and moved on to product development, product management again here in North Carolina, and still doing it as semi-retired, which is why I'm coming to these product coffees and things, because it's just, yeah. So anyway, that's my long story, but truly now is a little different, but people don't really know what this is. When you go to school, you go to your high school guidance counselor, right? Are they going to tell you to go and be a product manager? And was it Eva, you looking to get your master's? So I got my master's in product development, got it in 2001. Only 4 universities had such a thing at the time. And actually they don't even do it anymore at RIT. They've merged it into some other leadership thing, but it's like a technical MBA. It was a joint degree from the College of Business and the College of Engineering. And so together they combined to give you the business background that was necessary, along with the systems architecture and the systems thinking and the engineering type that you needed to move forward. So that's my story.
That's great. And do you have advice that you give to someone starting out?
Pay attention to what strikes your joy and capitalize on that and move that forward. Listen to those around you, learn from them.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sue. I also want to, since I've got you on the screen right now, and I meant to do this at the very beginning of the session, this weekend we've got Product Summit Online coming up. That is a joint venture between Product Camp RTP and PDMA of the Carolinas. And would you just real quickly, tell people about Product Summit Online, what you're doing, and how to register?
Yes, and I'll put in the chat the link to register.
Yeah, I was going to do that while you talk.
Oh, okay, perfect. That's even better. So PDMA is the organization I work for and have been involved with for more than 20 years, Product Development Management Association. So it's a professional organization of people like us, right? And so we typically put on events monthly. We haven't had much luck since COVID with in-person events. So we have partnered with Product Camp RTP, which is Research Triangle Park in North Carolina, to put on a virtual event. It's this Saturday, 9 a.m. to noonish. We have 15 speakers introduction, 15 speakers, and a panel discussion related to product development. And a good variety of speakers. I've recruited 2 or 3 of them from PDMA. Neither one of them are local to the Carolinas. One's in Texas and one's in Western New York. But it's a good mix of people. And we've got 300 or so, 300, more than 350 registered. So looking forward to a good interaction, a good group. We have 3 tracks, 5 speakers each track, and then a panel discussion.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing that this weekend, and so excited for the way it's coming together. This one's a little bit more curated than a typical product camp, but the session lineup, the speaker lineup is fantastic. I'm just really excited about it. So thank you so much, Sue. Next, I want to welcome to the camera Holly Jewell. Holly, I would love to hear, I've heard your story before, but I'd like everybody else to hear how you got into product management.
Oh dear. Which life do we start from?
Take your pick.
Anyone who knows me know that I talk about my multiple lives. Can you guys hear me okay? I've got a little lag here. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So I'll start from the best starting place, I think. And if you know me or get me enough drinks on a happy hour, you'll find out the real starting place. But I love, somebody else said earlier something about, a curious mind, right? And I think this often, if you have children in your life, whether they're your children or just children that you're in the life of, and they ask lots of questions, you look at them and you think, maybe a future product manager there, right? So I will say that I guess the writing was on the wall for me because my parents threatened me many times over the number of questions that I asked. I'm very curious minded. And so Allison, I agree. It's great to have a job where that's the key, right? The fun part. You get to ask lots of questions and dig into why and be curious and not be threatened with being put inside a dishwasher. If you ask one more time why it does what it does or how it works. My father was very kind, but was willing to put me inside so I could find out for myself. It was a good time. Anyway, so I actually worked at a financial institution for much of my adult life, and I worked my way up. I've done everything from being the minion in the call center, actually being the who put all of the official checks in numerical order. That's super fun, awesome. To being a minion in the call center. Some of the best experience of my life. I still go back to that. Anyone who's done any of those kinds of jobs, like Eva with the tech support, right? Sometimes that's the most relevant experience, as ridiculous as that sounds. I've had so many people ask me, how do you stay calm, at like C-suite level conversations when people are angry even or volatile. And it's, hey, after you've been screamed at about, how many times somebody's overdrawn their checking account, everything else is kind of uphill from there. It's fine. I did that, and I managed, worked my way up inside a financial institution and managed back office operations for 12 years, just a short period of time. Hopefully all the white hair isn't showing today. And at some point, I ended up with all of payroll and e-services and all of these things rolling up under me. And it was a lot of fun. I loved what I did. I became an AAP, which is an accredited ACH professional, for those that don't know. So anyone here who wants to do anything with payments, I'm probably your person, because I'm still an AAP. I can tell you more about how money moves and how it can't move and how you can bend the law without breaking it. Then I probably should volunteer. But that was all fun, and I loved that job. But I had a lot of problems. And when you're at a small financial institution, right, you get to wear a lot of hats. And I had to solve all my own problems. I ended up just dabbling. I had written code in college for fun. And so I started writing programs to do things and eventually building what grew up to be products, kind of like Jason, for fun, just to solve my own problems. And then the year came where our president decided we need to make some money. And so we needed to have these things called products and possibly figure out how to position them with customers. And since I was, one, kind of already doing that, and two, I think the only person in the room besides the executives that had a college degree, it was me. Fun fact. So that was really how I broke in to product management, was really just dabbling and building my own products and programs and things. One of which became a payroll program that we sold to Kroger. Carla might be interested in that one, but that's really what got me into that space. And then it was my breakthrough point that led me to, broader things was, and I say, find your people, right? This product coffee is very meaningful to me because I think the people are what matters. And for me, I probably would never become a industry software, certainly an enterprise level product management person, except I had one mentor who was not a product person, by the way. She was the president of the Georgia ACH Association. So again, payment stuff. And she said to me one time, "You care a lot about the problem." And I was like, yes, because I'd phoned her up and I was passionately going off about where there was a gap in the rules and how people could exploit it and what I thought we should do about it. And she said, when are you going to be tired of being the person who has the problem and be the person who solves the problem for everyone else? And that moment was critical, and it was a turning point for me. And I actually didn't go seeking that opportunity. But when Fiserv called me up randomly a short period of time later and offered me a position to lead their payment software portfolio, I went, I never thought I would leave where I am now, but that is how I become the person who solves the problem for everyone, right? I can solve the problem not for this financial institution, but for the top 1,000 financial institutions in this country at a fell swoop. And so that the power of being able to be an agent of change was what was compelling to me. And that's what led me to make that leap. And the rest was history. Like so many have said here, I dug in. I, was drinking from the fire hose. It was a totally different world from owning my little team of just, a product owner and a couple of BAs and a developer at a back office somewhere. While we were also sending wires and moving money and having all kinds of fun and chaos. But it was really amazing to get into that space and discover that, the more formal you can make that process, right, the more you can dig deep into the principles and the practice behind product management, the more you can affect that change in a way where it's exponential, is I guess what I'm trying to say, the change that you can affect, right? It's not, if you don't implement those things, you'll make changes, right? And you'll add value, but you'll do so at a very linear level. Versus if you can find ways to do these things, it makes you more efficient, right? And so you're able to affect more change. Rambles.
Oh, no, that's awesome.
Thank you. My tips for someone else, whether you've been doing this forever, longer than me and no more, or you are trying to get into it, or you're just getting started, I think I have the same 3 tips either way. And that would be, talk to everyone. I'm saying this as someone who most of you don't know, but I have struggled with being a socially anxious person most of my life. Talk to everyone, because those interactions, again, it's the relationships, it's who you know, but also you'd be surprised the things you learn along the way, right? And when I say talk to everyone, I really mean it. Like if you've walked through a building with me, I talk to like the janitorial staff every day, every time, because you find the most compelling things in the most surprising places. I've had thoughts while literally talking about the best way to mop a floor that were breakthroughs in a product that I had been unable to see literally the entire time. And I felt really dumb. And this one's a humility point, but remember, you don't know. This is actually the biggest one to me, especially for those of us who've been doing this for a while. Remember that you do not know. You do not know answers. That's why the 5 whys are important. That's why asking all the questions is important, right? Always approach it, no matter how certain you are of what the answer is, always go into it assuming that you don't know that answer and dig into finding out. And last but never least, most important, focus on fun, because the fun is why we should be doing this. If you don't absolutely love what you are doing as a product manager every single day, then don't do it. That would be my biggest statement. I see so many people trying to get into product, and I hate if someone's having a hard time doing that when that's a good fit, right? But I also know a lot of people walking around wearing this hat, having the same job titles as us, and they're miserable. And they're building miserable products that make the world more miserable every second of every day. And it is heartbreaking. So focus on the fun, have fun with it, and use the fun to be how you build an amazing product. I also like to say that you will accomplish more with love than with fear. I know a lot of product leaders at an executive level, like myself, that everyone's afraid of. To that earlier reference, I said when I'm on the call, and it was like, Holly said, and I'm like, I'm here. But not like to be Cersei from Game of Thrones, right? Like if people are afraid of you, you will accomplish a lot. But if people love you, you will accomplish leaps and bounds. People will work nights and weekends to make you successful if they believe that you care about them that same way. So have fun and use the fun to be the bonding that creates those relationships that let you do it all. Sorry. Soapbox done.
That is
Haley, I have one question. Jason, shall I proceed? Yeah. So Haley, how you come from an introvert background to talk with everyone? Because you mentioned that you are unable to communicate with the people from starting days.
Oh, I didn't say I wasn't
When you-
able. I said I was socially anxious, meaning I didn't want to. I'm terrified of people.
Okay. So how you started? Is there any mantra? Is there any process you adopt? Yeah.
Absolutely. I highly, it's not drugs. I don't recommend those. Medications. It's actually, I think it's all we're all different with how we can think about things, right? But it's all a psychology thing. And I think for me, it was I was scared of a thing that I didn't feel like I controlled. And and I'm not saying control the conversation, like I absolutely hate people who do that, by the way. But if you lead into things, right? It's kind of like when we're talking about leaning into something strong, right? If you go in, then it's not scary, right? Or it's less scary because you are controlling that interaction. So next time we're at something together in person and I walk right up to you and I am the one that starts the conversation or reaches for the handshake or the hug or whatever, that's me facing my fear. If I was just going to do what my inner voice says, I would hang in the back of the room and I wouldn't interact, right? But if I come in and I say hi, then I'm in it. And I chose this. So it's a safe thing after that, I guess is the way to explain it. So it's kind of a face your fears thing. And I would say that not just about people, because I'm probably the only oddball that is here and is afraid of people. But whatever it is, right? So like whether it's building that new product, right? That next epic adventure, starting the next thing, making the leap that you just keep hanging back from, it's just face your fear and go for it. Because the minute you take that leap, it's Indiana Jones, right? You step off the cliff, it'll turn out it wasn't a cliff. 9 times out of 10. The other 10th time, you're going to crash and burn. And it's going to suck. But,
Thanks.
And thanks for asking that, Archit. And Holly, thank you for that answer. I know when you told me that story, it was profoundly impactful for me too. Just that approach that you took to controlling the situation by walking in and saying, okay, I can be less afraid if I own the situation. I'm the one making the first move, and that was just one of the many brilliant things you've shared with me, and thank you for sharing that with everybody here. So, let's see who is gonna be up next. Let's see. Look, Graham, you kind of gave a little bit of a teaser into your origin story at the beginning of the call today, but I'd like to kind of hear the whole story. Oh, we've got about 3 minutes. Can you do it pretty quickly, or should we do it another day?
It's a long story.
All right. Well, I didn't realize how late it had become. I started seeing people all dropping off. I think we should do this again a little bit sooner next time because this was a lot of fun. We've got a few sessions scheduled out right now, but I think before the end of the year, we'll do another round of these, and I would love to hear some more stories from people. I want to thank everybody who shared your stories today. It was it's inspiring. It's fun. I saw a lot of the chatter here in chat and out on YouTube as well, with folks really getting a lot of value from just hearing, hey, it wasn't easy for many of us who started, and we didn't know what we were doing, and it's true. It was there were lots of big question marks, and still I've been in this for 20 years, and I still have lots of things that I know I've still got to learn, and I'm still trying to figure out. if you're interested in lifelong learning, then this is a great career path for you as well. You're going to keep figuring stuff out on and on over time. I want to thank everybody for joining us today and for being a part of this community. It is a true passion of ours here at Product Coffee. There are a lot of people here that believe that we can strengthen our careers together better than we can on our own. And very often it's hard to find right people to connect with in your own company to have those authentic, deep conversations about how to solve certain problems, just from a variety of experiences, from having a greater breadth of experiences to draw from. So we'd love to have you join us here every week. We'll be back next week with John Mansour of Product Management University, talking about how product managers should be making customer success their new BFFs. And if you want more, you can jump into our Product Coffee Premium group. You can go over to productcoffee.com and sign up for our premium group, where we have a private Slack channel and we have professional development workshops designed for product managers, specifically to help you have more impact in your career, solve problems that you know you need to solve every day, and work on those together. We'd love to have you join us in Product Coffee Premium as well. But that's all for today, and we will see you all next week. Thank you, everyone who shared your stories today. I'm Jason Brett, and this has been Product Coffee. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Jason, one thing is lastly, I am unable to connect you over the LinkedIn.
Oh, you can't?
So could you please put up your LinkedIn link here? So
absolutely.
I'm trying to reach out to you. And please, everyone, please do this, because I'm unable to find you all. And I'm happy to connect you with you all, guys.
You can also go to, I'm putting mine in here. You can also, I haven't put this out there in a while. If you go to productcoffee.com/group, it will take you to our LinkedIn group, and you can join that group, and you'll be able to find everybody else who's in that group really easy as well. But I dropped my LinkedIn, and I would love to connect with everybody who was on the call here today as well. So please do reach out to me.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much, Jason, for this type of interactive sessions. Yeah. And
you bet.
Hope we will
my pleasure. Thanks for
next.
being here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, Haley, for your experience. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Mark Lewis. And thanks